Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Acharya Astatatar Shata Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Astatatar Shata Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Founder Acharya of Iskcon Srila Prabhupada Ki. Iskcon Guru Vrinda Ki. Prem Chakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Shri Radhanila Madhava Dham Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Himar Devi Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki. The most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Nitai Gaur Chandra Ki. Shri Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ki. And the most beautiful Lordship Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari. Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Shri Shri Radha Nilamadava ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Shri Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 86, Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra, texts 16 and 17. And we're going to chant text 17. Tayo prasanno bhagavan daru kena hritam ratam aruya sakamuni bir videhan prayayao Prabhu. Tayo prasanno bhagavan darukena hritam ratam aruya sakamuni bir videhan prayayao Prabhu. Please chant. Vaishnavis. Tayoho, with both of them. Prasannaha, pleased. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Darukena, by Daruka. Ahritam, brought forth. Ratam, his chariot. Aruya, mounting. Sakam, together with. Munibihi, sages. Videhan, to the Videha kingdom. Prayayao, went. Prabhu, the Lord. Translation to text 16 first. Text 16. Similarly, free from false ego was the ruler of that kingdom, my dear Parikshit, a descendant of the Mithila dynasty named Bahulashva. Both these devotees were very dear to Lord Achyuta. Text 17. Pleased with both of them, the Supreme Personality of Godhead mounted his chariot, which Daruka had brought, and traveled to Videha with a group of sages. Purport. In his commentary on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that Shrutadev and Bahulashva were unable to travel to Dwarka to see Lord Krishna because both of them had vowed to regularly worship their personal deity at home. Sri Krishna was very glad to go out of his way to give them both his audience. And while leaving Dwarka, he insisted that the sages who wanted to come with him should join him on his chariot, because otherwise they would exhaust themselves following on foot. Renowned sages would ordinarily never even consider traveling in such an opulent conveyance, but on the Lord's order, they put aside their natural aversion and joined him on his chariot. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giradhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, in this pastime, there's so much that we could say. There's so many things that are being shown by Krishna's activities. One of the things is that somewhat of a, it shows that, well, Shrutadev, there's this juxtaposition, right? Shrutadev is this poor brahmana, and Bahulashva is this great king. But both of them are devotees of the Lord, pure devotees. And Krishna is equally pleased with both of them. So we will see that they both want Krishna to come to their homes. And Krishna goes to both of their homes simultaneously. Actually, the sages also expand themselves and go to each of the homes at the same time. But each of them, Shrutadev and Bahulashva, they each think that Krishna and the sages, they only went to my home. They can't see it. So Krishna, this pastime shows that whether one's a king, basically in bhakti, it's the externals are secondary to the devotion. There's no bar, as we heard yesterday. Bhakti is, there's no interruption, no motivation, but there's basically nothing, it's causeless. There's nothing that will get in the way of pure devotional service. There's no material circumstance which can impede one to render devotional service to Krishna. So, doesn't depend on caste or creed, this religion or that religion. Basically, anyone can engage in the Sanatan Dharma. It's just a matter of choice, and of course that choice has to be precipitated by the knowledge of what to do and what it is. But I find it interesting because the sages, which we hear tomorrow, I think, Narada, Vamadev, Atri, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, Parashuram, Shukadev Goswami, Brihaspati, Maitreya, Chavana, Kanva, all these sages are the greatest personalities in the universe. I mean, these are the most elevated persons in the spiritual science. And so they got to travel with Krishna. And it says here that they were naturally averse to traveling in opulent conveyances. Because the devotee, or I should say, one who is aspiring after transcendental realization, realizes that basically matter is temporary, and there's no pleasure in it. What's that one verse? 5th chapter, text 22. Goes, Krishna tells Arjuna, Yehi samsparsha ja boga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta konteya na teshu ramate buddha. That this boga, this enjoyment which arises from contact of the senses with the sense objects, that sort of enjoyment is actually the birthplace of misery, the womb of dukkha yonaya evate. So it's actually that's where misery is born, is when the senses are contacting the sense objects. Although we think it's pleasure, right? In the 18th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna that happiness in the mode of passion, it tastes like nectar in the beginning, but it ends up being just like poison. Whereas one who restrains their senses, we hear throughout the Bhagavad Gita, actually is tasting nectar, because it might be difficult in the beginning, but actually that sort of detachment from these birthplaces of misery is actually quite liberating. Adyantavanta konteya, it has a beginning and an end. So that's why they're the birthplaces of misery. So I actually yesterday, after we came back from book distribution, we had to go to the grocery store and get some water. And I'm getting in a habit, I confess on the Vyasa, I'm getting in this habit of buying something every time I go to the store. Like some sense gratification, like a Laura bar, or some sort of sweet, some sugar-coated thing. I mean, we try to avoid, the real nonsense, of course, but I mean, something like a peanut butter cup, So yesterday, I got 3 peanut butter cups at the checkout line. And what really made me get them is because it said 27 cents each. So I thought, that's a pretty good price. And they rung me up as 99 cents each. And so I went back into the store and, showed them the receipt and showed them the sign and said they made a mistake. I would never have bought these if they were 99 cents each. I said 27 cents each. So they basically admitted their mistake. This is at Whole Foods. And they gave them to me for free. So I felt like I really made away with something of value there. I really felt like, wow, I should have gotten more. I only got 3, 1 for each of us. And then after we offered them and, ate them, I felt like that was worthless because even though it was free, it actually cost something. It cost now, I'm hankering for more. Now I want more. It was a tease. It was just a one little thing that it started to agitate my senses that now I want more sweets. So it would have been better if I never had it in the first place. And we thought of this saying, in America there's this saying, I don't know where it's from, but it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And I was thinking, in relation to this experience I'm having, and in relationship to this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, that actually contacted the senses with the sense objects, they're actually birthplaces of misery because they're temporary. They simply add fuel to the fire. Really, they should be honest. Next time someone says that, I might correct them if it's right, if the situation is correct, and say, like, it's not love, of course, but if we would have said, if the saying would have gone like, it is better to have had illicit sex and lost than to never had illicit sex at all, we would disagree with that as devotees. We would disagree with that because that would have agitated the senses, sinful reactions. And the samskar, the impressions in the subtle body from that, there's reaction, there's the proclivity to do more sinful activities. So it's not better to have done these things. You can say it is better to have engaged in any type of bhakti and left than to never have engaged in. But that's about the only thing you can actually say that for. So we can replace the word love with bhakti and make that a truthful statement. Sorry, but in any case, what I'm trying to say is that the sages, they don't find pleasure. Na teshu ramate buddhaha, the intelligent, the wise man does not rejoice in this temporary materialistic sense gratification. They don't think it's very nice because here it is and then it's gone and now I'm agitated. Now I can't focus on Krishna because of it. And so that's kind of the disposition, right? But they put aside their natural aversion to these opulences and decided to join Krishna on his chariot anyways. Which is interesting because, Because devotional service is, the principle of devotional service, Prabhupada said, utility is the principle. We don't reject anything that can be used in Krishna's service. It's called Yukta Vairagya. Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagyam Uchyate. Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that that basically when one is not attached, anasaktasya vishayan, not attached to the sense gratification, but still he uses everything in the service of Krishna, then that's called yukta vairagya. That's called proper renunciation, actually. It means one, Prabhupada says one is not considering it to be one's own. So there's a verse in the 6th chapter, text 1. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyaha sasanyasi chiyogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. This is kind of a nice definition of what it actually means to be a renunciate. It doesn't mean that one rejects everything and does no activity. It means that one is actually renouncing the fruit of the activity. He's renouncing the sense of proprietorship of the result and of the actual activity itself. And just like in the Sudama Brahman pastime we read just a few chapters ago, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in the end of the purport that Krishna saw that he was still a little attached to that renunciation. He had some attachment to his renunciation. So Krishna does so many things in one blow, but that was one factor, was that he diminished that sense of false pride of Sudama due to that being a renounced brahmana. So he gave him all that opulence, palaces and hundreds of maidservants and elephants and things. But of course he maintained that humility throughout because he was a devotee. So bhakti is situated above all the other processes, yoga, jnana, karma. One can engage in the yogic process, Ashtanga yoga, and be appearing to be very sense-controlled and very renounced, but as we see in so many instances in the Bhagavatam, Durvasa Muni, Saubhari Muni, Vishvamitra Muni, right? They are agitated to engage the senses with the sense objects because the bhakti is not fully mature yet. So, as sadhakas, at least myself and some others perhaps who can categorize themselves in that category. I know there's some advanced devotees in this temple room, but the conditioned soul who comes to the platform of sadhana bhakti, we even utilize any method to control the senses. We utilize we're not going to eat like an animal because that might agitate those senses. We're not going to we're going to control the sense, yamas, niyamas, like that. But ultimately, what's actually going to control the senses is Krishna consciousness. When one engages the senses in Krishna's service, one gets that higher taste. We heard that the other day, the verse from Bhagavad Gita, param drishtva nivartate, that this higher taste is the real thing. And so I think it's Sanatana Goswami. I could be wrong. I don't think it's 6 Goswamis, but it says that the senses become like serpents with the venom taken out. Is that Sanatana Goswami? I'm not sure where it's from. You know where it's from, Prabhu? But in any case, that's common. We've read that. I think we've all read that a lot. That the senses for one in devotional service, become like, the senses are like serpent-like, they're venomous snakes. They really, are dangerous. They're dangerous. I was in Colorado, and I was in nature. I was by a river once, and it was pretty scary because upon hiking into this trail, there was sign after sign after sign about don't run over the snakes, don't step on the snakes. I was thinking there must be a ton of snakes here. But there's a pastime in the 9th canto, which is only like 4 or 5 verses long. And the Palashruti of that small I don't even remember the pastime, but the Palashruti is that one who's read this pastime will never be bitten by snakes. So I was thinking, well, I've read the 9th canto several times. Okay, I think I'm good. So I took a nap in nature, chanted rounds, read and whatever. And then I was trying to write my Vyas Puja offering to my spiritual master, and then I stood up, and then there was a giant rattlesnake. I almost stepped on it too. It was a good thing he rattled. He let me know not to take another step back, and it was very scary because I was basically sleeping right next to a snake, and didn't even know it. Rattlesnakes are pretty venomous. You might not die, but you might lose an arm or something if you panic. So anyhow, I was thinking about that verse, or thinking about that concept about how the senses are like snakes, actually. They're very dangerous. Yes. Oh, Prabodhananda Saraswati. Jai. Yes, thank you so much. He writes this verse, and the Sanskrit I don't have, but yeah, how the senses are like snakes. But for one in bhakti, it's like the senses are like snakes with the teeth taken out, or the fangs broken. Yeah. So, devotees are given so much mercy. Even the beginning devotees, the neophytes, were given a lot of mercy. Krishna helps us out along the path through his devotees, through the Shastra, through Paramatma in the heart. We're given guidance about how to advance in devotional service. So certainly this is an important point, is to renounce sense gratification. And gradually we're promoted to the highest understanding of what that means. To renounce sense gratification means actually to engage in gratifying Krishna's senses, engaging our senses in his satisfaction. And so there's so much in bhakti that we can do to engage our senses in Krishna's service. I did a lot of deity worship, so I'm kind of familiar with the whole archana process. And that is such a nice process because you engage all your senses in the service of Krishna, the deity. You're engaging your mind, your words, your eyes, your sense of touch, your money, because you got to make it opulent for Krishna. The sense of smell, you're smearing Krishna's body with nice oils. You're supposed to bathe the deity with a conch shell. Not any kind of conch. It's supposed to be a proper type of conch. There's certain types of conches which are pure and certain types of conches which are not Vedic. And then there's, you make the water fragrant with jasmine flowers, rose flowers, Ushira root, which is vetiver. You can bathe the Lord with perfect temperature water. The perfect temperature, not too cold, not too hot. Depends what season it is, And then you're bathing him with this fragrant water while ringing a bell, which is an auspicious sound, and while chanting mantras. So you're engaging so much all at once. Krishna says his favorite activities is the bathing and the dressing. He likes that the most. So then you get to dry Krishna off, dress him in beautiful outfits, ornament him, offer him flowers, flower garlands, decorate the turban, paint him, offer chandan, tulsi, incense, lamp, boga, prayers. So it's pretty much a full-on Krishna-centered activity that one's doing. Whereas in other activities, it might be harder for the consciousness. Other activities in our Bhakti Yoga, in Prabhupada's program, are completely Krishna conscious. Or I should say they're completely in service of Krishna, like book distribution, for instance. We're serving Krishna, we're serving Prabhupada, no question about it. Sometimes it's hard, though, for one who's influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance to constantly think that what I'm doing here is serving the pure devotee and remember Krishna. At least it's sometimes hard for me. But deity worship, it's kind of hard not to think of the deity. That's kind of why it's there, because you're right there in front of Krishna and you have to do all this stuff in a certain amount of time. And it's deity worship for everyone, all devotees, but it's specifically recommended for the neophyte. And I noticed when I did deity worship, and then my japa changed. Chanting the holy names changed. It was like I started thinking I was offering arti to the holy names, offering arti to Radha and Krishna. I mean, not like imposing that on my mind, but because I did so many artis, it was kind of like that mentality kind of got assimilated somehow. So whatever way we do it, whether it's deity worship or book distribution, I mean, certainly book distribution is fully absorbing if you actually surrender to it. It's the main mission of Iskcon movement, is how to distribute Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada said the success of any program is judged by how many books are distributed. And so the fact that people are getting a taste for distributing Prabhupada's books, getting a taste for reading Prabhupada's books, that's success, according to Prabhupada. And so, whatever way we can engage our senses in Krishna, Krishna's service, Krishna's name, form, qualities, activities, then that's proper renunciation, because that gives us the higher taste, and we no longer are succumbing to the lower taste. We don't have any aversion necessarily. We're just over it. It's like a kid who really enjoyed playing in the sandbox, but as he grew up, that no longer was attractive for him. He liked baseball then, right? And then baseball, he puts that aside because he wants to, do something else, go to college. Usually after puberty, men and women, they're attracted to one another. So that's like it's the lower taste, spiritually speaking, but it's the higher taste in terms of that materialistic maturation process. It's like, baseball and all this other stuff goes to the side. So similarly, we have to get attracted to Krishna. I mean, so many of our acharyas pray like that. Jai, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Our acharyas pray like that let my mind, just as the mind of young girls get helplessly attracted to young boys and vice versa, may my mind be helplessly attracted and always absorbed in thoughts of you. Just as a boy might hanker after the taste of the lips of a young girl, let my lips hanker after the taste of your prasadam, your remnants, Krishna. And just as my eyes may hanker after, or a man's eyes may hanker after the sight of his young wife, may my eyes hanker always after seeing you, and your deity form and the devotees. And similarly, it's just as one may open up and read aloud a love letter from their long, not long lost, but long, far away beloved. Similarly, may we also chant the holy name and also read the Srimad Bhagavatam in such a transcendental loving rapture. So, Krishna means all attractive. So, that was a nice point from your class the other day, that Krishna is all attractive, but why are we not attracted to him yet? And, if he's really all attractive, that means, whatever beauty, whatever opulence we see, whatever we're attracted to in this world, that means that Krishna is the summum bonum. He's the last word in that attraction. He's the source of it. He's the ultimate. He's that beauty or that strength or that intelligence or that runs to the infinite degree. So why can't we be attracted to that? And I think we've heard about it the last few days, that it's not up to, we can't storm the gates of heaven, so to speak. We can't force Krishna to reveal himself. But if we're inclined to him, he'll become inclined to us. So, how are we doing with the fundamental program of Bhakti Yoga? Hearing about Krishna, reading Prabhupada's books, chanting the holy name regularly and attentively, trying to avoid the offenses, serving the mission. Are we doing service for the mission? Are we doing deity worship? That doesn't mean being on the altar. That means coming to Mangal Arti, seeing the Arti, paying your obeisances. Taking prasadam is deity worship, actually, according to our acharyas. It's one of the angas of Archana. Residing in a holy place. How are we doing with the fundamental principles of Bhakti Yoga that are built into Prabhupada's morning program? They're actually built into the program. He built, actually all these angas of deity worship, which is 64 in number, and many of the 64 angas of Bhakti are simultaneously angas of deity worship. Most of them are implemented right here in the morning program. You wake up early and chant Krishna's name. You come in the door, you say Jai, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava, ring a bell. These are all individual angas. Taking the Charnamrita, worshipping Tulsi. So we're doing so many of them every morning when you just come to the morning program. I know for myself, I don't do it if I don't go to the morning program. I'm not saying anyone else fits in this category, but I'm just saying myself, I'm not so advanced that I can stay back. Because sometimes I do, because the day is just so full, so I chant my rounds, but then it's not as good, not as quality, and I'm not advanced very much, so that's kind of me. But so it's a nice facility for those of us who can't maintain a strong program on our own. To take advantage of the morning program, take advantage of the Devotees Association. Prabhupada established these temples for that purpose. It's amazing one can engage in the highest welfare work just by giving someone a book. Just by coming out. That's one thing we want to do actually, is have more community Sankirtan. We go out every day to the campuses, but there's so many other nice venues. There's downtown, there's parks, there's apartment complexes that we can bring devotees on and teach how to distribute books. And from that engagement, some inconceivable mercy, Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, happens. So like we heard, Syan Mahat Seviya Vipra Punya Tirtana Shevana. That service rendered to the pure devotees gives you the Vasudeva Kata Ruchi, the taste for talks about Krishna. So devotional service, if you go on this book distribution, that's pretty important stuff. If you distribute Prabhupada's books, go on Harinam, go on Sankirtan, you'll get a taste the next day. You'll have a taste the next day. When I miss book distribution, I don't have a taste anymore. It's so palpable, it's so obvious. But when I go on book distribution, the next day, in Java period, I have a nice taste. Better taste. Nowhere close to a perfect taste, but I can feel it. It's a difference. And this is not subject to our mechanical, logical, trying to figure things out. I mean, it's somewhat formulaic, like we're hearing from these verses, but Krishna can still do whatever he likes. He's a person. He doesn't have to reciprocate immediately. But if we don't do it, then what is the chance at all? If we don't do any service to the pure devotees, then what are the chances? At least then we have a chance for Krishna to reciprocate. And he says he will. Might take some time. It'll be according to the degree which we engage. But we want to get a taste by chanting our japa, but we want to get a taste by engaging in our personal bhajan, which is great. We need that. But then, if we don't have a service attitude, Prabhupada said, service now, samadhi later. And my personal experience is that I've tried a lot to try to engage in some serious hearing and chanting outside the association of serious Vaishnavas. When I'm in the association of devotees who are doing serious hearing and chanting, then I'm able to do it. But by myself, I just can't do it. So therefore, we have to actually kind of surrender to the service, specifically Sankirtan. That's how one will get this taste. All the devotees who are so advanced nowadays, some of them in this room, have surrendered to that Sankirtan Yagya in one way or another. And that's why they're still around. That's why they have an amazing taste for hearing the Shastra, for chanting Krishna's names. So this is very important for us, is to develop the service attitude. And we do that by doing service. I've heard devotees say this before, that if one simply hears and chants, but doesn't do any service, then they will, we're talking about neophytes, of course, because hearing and chanting is service, punya, shravana, kirtana, right? But for the neophyte, first they have to render devotional service to the spiritual master. So I've heard that they'll get puffed up, think I'm better. Funny thing, one interesting thing is what Hridayananda Maharaj, I've heard him say that when he was so much into the hearing Shastra, actually, naturally, from his early days in the movement, that I don't know if I heard that from someone here, I'm not sure, but anyways, he would hide himself. When it was time to go on Sankirtan, he wanted to stay back and read all day. And so he would hide himself. He would have to stand on top of the toilet, which there was a curtain, in the brahmacharya, wherever he was in the brahmacharya ashram. There was a toilet, so he'd have to stand on it. And so they would check under the curtain and see if anyone's feet's in the bathroom, try to get everyone out on Sankirtan, but he would hide and stay back and read Shastra all day and study. So some people have that propensity, and certainly if I don't hear and chant enough, I'm depressed. But also Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, some of his disciples were criticizing Kinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who would just chant all day. And they were saying he doesn't do any service, and they were criticizing, and so Bhaktisiddhanta said, you can also chant all day, and go ahead. And they tried, and they couldn't. They couldn't do it. And then it was either sleeping or eating or they just couldn't do it. The mind is like the worst enemy, right? So then Bhaktisiddhanta explained that this is why he can chant all day, because he can actually do it. He has a taste for it. So that is service. So I'm saying all this just to make the point that nothing should be rejected in Krishna service. Coming back to the purport about the sages getting on the chariot, they didn't reject it offhand because they knew that this is related to the Lord. This is related to the Lord. The Lord was sitting right on it, of course. But so the devotee thinks everything's related to the Lord, so everything can be used in his service. Whenever we see something that's not related to the Lord, Krishna tells Brahma that, know that to be my illusory energy, like a reflection of light in the shadow or something like that, shadow and darkness, something like that. So it's not the real, that's the illusion, it's the consciousness. Everything's related to Krishna, but when we see it as separate, then that's Maya, that's illusion. So a man sees a beautiful woman and thinks, that's meant for my enjoyment. That's illusion. We say that's Maya. It's not the mechanical robot of a woman's body is necessarily Maya. It's related to Krishna. It's Krishna's energy. But it's the consciousness that this is meant for my enjoyment, which is Maya. That which is not. It's not true. It's not real. It's not reality. We are not the enjoyer. And so there's a lot more I could just ramble on about. I'll just open it up if there's any comments or questions. Or additions, please, if I'm trying to make a few points there. Maybe anyone can flesh them out a little bit. Mother Kalpataru.
Hare Krishna, nice class, Prabhu. One in the purport about the Brahmanas and a king, they don't go to see Krishna because they have deity service. And so Krishna actually comes to them. That's very nice. In our day-to-day lives also, sometimes, we also have, whether to go to reading or to go to Aarti, whether to go see, chant with your spiritual master or listen to Bhagavad. So is there one thing is better than other, or?
I guess it's kind of an individual thing. I mean, we have to chant our 16 rounds at least. We should hear some Shastra every day. You have to read Prabhupada's books every day. Some things you have to do, minimally, like a set minimum. It's kind of like our vratas, our vows. But then, there's also this idea that any of the Nava Angas of Bhakti, you can just perform one of them and become perfect. And so it's not necessary to engage in all of them. So it's kind of like, what is one most attracted to? It's just like a plate of prasadam. It's like, I'm more attracted to the opulent sabji. So I don't really go for the rice so much. I get more of the chutney, the pakora, the sabji, the sweets. I get more of that because that's what I'm attracted to. And others might like, a lot of rice and just a little dal or a little, Bengalis, right? Eat a lot of rice. So it takes guidance, I guess. That's one thing. Like if I'm just eating only sweets, someone might have to come talk. My Ayurvedic doctor might have to say, this is not a healthy diet. You have to change it. If I'm doing, like I said, if I'm doing only my chanting and no service, no reading, takes guidance, takes someone to say, yes, that's okay, or no, you need to, like, this is where you need to plug in more, less of this, more of that. It's like constant course correct. We're steering the ship. I mean, we're flying our own airplane, but we need to take guidance how to do that until we become proficient ourselves. So a lot of the time, like in your case, what it sounds like to me, it's not like a make or break it situation. Like last night, I just decided to stay for the arti and chant a little longer. The last arti, I never do that, but I kind of felt like I kind of want to do that, and I did it, and it was nice. And I don't know. That's kind of my opinion. Is whatever you kind of assess for yourself is like. I mean, see, they took a vrat. They took a vow to regularly worship their personal deity at home. So, like, if we have service, like if I'm scheduled for the arti, I can't neglect that duty. If I'm scheduled to cook the deity breakfast, I can't neglect it. So it's like we can't neglect our duties and our vows, but above that, then kind of up to our own taste, whatever inspires us the most. Some people will be naturally inclined to different aspects of the Hare Krishna movement. Is that okay? Thank you. Mother Donna Kaylee.
Just as a follow-up to Kalpataru's point, in the pastime of Mother Yashoda boiling milk for baby Krishna, and then the point in time came when Krishna was asking her to stop her churning and please feed him, and so she took him on her lap. But then when the milk started boiling over, she dropped him like a hot potato and ran to the kitchen. And in that purport, Prabhupada says that similarly, we may all encounter the situation where we have more than one important service that is concomitantly occurring along with another important service, and we have to prioritize. They're both very important, but somehow we have to prioritize which order is most pleasing for Krishna. And then he quoted Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Bhagavad Gita 10:10, that Krishna will give the intelligence to the sincere devotee as to which service should take priority over a second service. You know what I'm saying? And then I was also thinking of the pastime of when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was in Vrindavan at Govardhan with so many disciples. Jai Shri Radha Nilamadu. And he was going to speak on Shri Ishopanishad. And a large percentage of his disciples decided not to stay and listen to their guru speaking on Shri Ishopanishad, and they decided to travel into Vrindavan and visit the temples, because there's so many amazing deities to visit, and how many opportunities do we have to go to Vrindavan and see these deities? So they said, so they went off and did their little pilgrimage in Vrindavan, and Bhaktisiddhanta criticized them that they're going to view the deities at the temples was simply sightseeing, eye exercise. And the point he was making was that when we get that rare opportunity to sit and directly hear from the lips of a pure devotee, that takes precedence over other angas of bhakti, unless, of course, you've been instructed. You're supposed to go worship the deity, let's say, but you're just going to, have darshan or something. So anyway, I was just thinking like that whenever we get that rare opportunity to actually sit in person and hear from a pure devotee, that takes priority over anything else that we might say that I have more of an attraction to. In It's not about what you have more of an attraction to. It's about what you're supposed to be doing. And hearing from the lips of a pure devotee takes precedence over everything else, unless you're directly instructed to do something else. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point. Yeah, and if you have some other service or duty, and you have to miss the pure devotee's talk, then that lamentation will also be purifying. But if one doesn't set that as you're saying, the priority actually, then they won't feel such a burning desire, which would be purifying. They'll just, it's one way or the other. Yeah, thank you for that follow-up, because that's an important point. Oh, Sarvabhauma has, yes, Prabhu, Radha Krishna Prabhu, and then Sarvabhauma.
I just want to add on to what Dana Gailey just said, that I was told that if there's Vapu and Vani service, generally if the spiritual master is around, then one should take up the Vapu service, because he may not be or she may not be around later on. So when your spiritual master is here, take full advantage, because he's not always here. So it's foolish to say, I'm going to go somewhere and try to get someone to do that service, and then you attend where a spiritual master is. And then the other thing I heard is during the early days when devotees had their own deities, Srila Prabhupada discouraged them from worshipping in their home. They come and serve the presiding deities in the temple, so that they get the association, they get to hear and do things together. And that's a higher priority, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's always the worst, if you're managing the deity department and someone says, I can't do the arti to the temple deities because I got my own deities at home I got to tend to, and that always was upsetting. Yes, Prabhu.
I saw Kalpatru Manji the other day. It seemed like she wanted to hear Dhanakili Manji's class, but her guru called and said, if you'd like to do japa with me, you can. So she had that problem of two attractive things, because the devotee. But Dhanakili was wonderful class. She doesn't come very often also. She may see her guru more. But I just was thinking that it's a good problem to have when devotees want to do more than one spiritual thing at the same time. And it seems wonderful that Krishna sometimes gives the devotees the ability to expand, not for us, we're more beginning, but Krishna expands himself, and even some of his great devotees can expand and participate in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and Krishna's pastimes simultaneously. So if we at least want to do more than one spiritual thing at the same time, that's a good beginning conscience to have. And if we deserve rather than just desire, and Krishna one day would give us the ability to do more than one service at the same time.
Wow, that's encouraging. One who's pujari but also has this burning desire to go on book distribution could, if he's purified, like you said, deserves to go back to Godhead, could appear in Lord Chaitanya's Leela and the Vraja Leela simultaneous. It's very interesting. Yes, Prabhu.
Well, you said that Krishna's, I think his favorite pastime is being bathed and dressed. Do you know why that is? Like, what?
It just says it in the 11th canto, chapter 27, 26, the deity worship chapter, Uddhava Gita. Krishna speaking to Uddhava, he says, that's my favorite. Out of all the deity worship, those are my two favorites. I don't know. Has anyone ever bathed and dressed you? You know, it's kind of like nice, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of love that goes into it, I think, also. I mean, I'm speculating. I don't know why Krishna likes it, but he likes it, period, really. I heard also someone quote that Krishna likes the copper better than gold and silver. He likes copper. And they were telling me, and I was like, why? And they were saying, well, you have to clean, you got to clean copper every day, otherwise it's tarnished. Silver, gold, not so much, gold never, but silver like every other day, every other few days. So it's like, you got to do more service. I was thinking like that in terms of the bathing and dressing. It's a little more work going into it than just the padyam, just the other things. But anyways, he's a person, so ultimately, why is Krishna blue? Because he wants to. Why is Krishna, why do girls have long hair and braids? Because it's the way Krishna wants it. Why do brahmanas have shika? I mean, that's my answer now when they say, what's the shika? So that's what Krishna wants. Krishna wanted it that way. So this is really indicating Krishna, God's personal aspect. Because a person has desires. And, yeah. Thanks. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantaguri Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
All glories, all glories, all glories to His Grace, Prana Haridas Brahmachari. Today's breakfast was cooked by Mother Shobha Kishori Devi Dasi, and Rashabhadev Das and Mother Priya came to help. So please honor, respect, and relish the mercy. Hari Hari Bo.